Greetings once again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another installment of the Retro Entertainment Archive. And thank you very much for once again joining me as we explore classic horror films, various genres and types. And all throughout the month of October so far, I've suggested and recommended classic horror films of various types for you to investigate and possibly even enjoy. And for those who are who've already know about these classic films, I'm sure that you've are still fans of them and will continue to be so. And this time around, I'm going to be dealing with a type of genre film that a number of cinema fans will be familiar with, especially horror fans, and that's called the Giallo, and that is an Italian film genre. It was created or initiated, as you might say, in the early 60s in Italy, and found popularity in not only Italy but other parts of Europe as well. And eventually those films made its way into the American film market. But there's one particular film today that I want to discuss, and that's called Blood and Black Lace. Now, this film was directed by an Italian director named Mario Bava, who I'm sure that you horror fans out there will be familiar with. And Blood and Black Lace stars Eva Bartok, and also as well American film actor Cameron Mitchell. Now, I'll also be talking about the Giallo film genre itself in this video, give you an introduction to it for those who are not familiar. And as per usual, please join me at the desk as we discuss this, what I would say is the one of the early films that would start the slasher film genre as we know it today. So let's get started. All right, folks, so let's get into it. And this will be, I think, a certainly those who are not familiar with the Italian horror films of the 60s, I think this will be certainly an introduction to this film and other films as well, I think, that you might be interested in. And this particular one, Blood and Black Lace, I think is certainly worth considering. Now, just to let you know here, by way of a bit of a friendly warning, as it were, that when I mentioned that this film here would be sort of like a, not necessarily a progenitor of the slasher film genre as we know it today, but it certainly lent its influences to that genre much later on in the 70s and 80s, not only in European film, but also definitely in American film as well. Now, just to get into it here, Blood and Black Lace is also in Italian. I'm going to be probably butchering the pronunciations here, so please bear with me, folks. I apologize. Si donna per l'assassino, which literal translation from Italian means six women for the murderer, is a 1964 Giallo film directed by Mario Bava. And as I mentioned, it stars Eva Bartok and Cameron Mitchell. Now, the story concerning Blood and Black Lace, it involves the brutal murders of female fashion models employed by a Roman fashion house, committed by a masked killer in a desperate attempt to obtain a scandal-revealing diary. Now, that's basically the synopsis for the film. There obviously goes into much greater detail with the developing plot and so on with the film itself, but that's basically the thumbnail sketch for the film. Now, the film commenced development shortly after Bava had terminated his long-term association with Galatea Film, for whom he had made most of his earlier works as a cinematographer and director. Now, just a side note here about Mario Bava. He was also famous for directing a Gothic horror, what many would consider, the Gothic horror fans would consider a seminal work of Gothic horror in Italy, and that's called Black Sunday. It was filmed and released in 1960, and it stars Barbara Steele. And yeah, it's a seminal work. It's certainly a great film for the classic horror genre fans out there. Now, Blood and Black Lace was created and produced with a budget that was lower than several of the director's prior horror films. And Blood and Black Lace was an Italian, French, and West German international co-production. And it had many actors and actresses in the film that were Italian, German, and well, also with Cameron Mitchell, who was American, and Eva Bartok, who I believe was Hungarian. Yeah, there was a lot of different people working primarily in front of the camera and behind the camera. Principal photography began in Rome in late 1963 with an international multilingual cast, as I mentioned. Some actors read their lines fluently while others performed their lines phonetically. Now, the film premiered in Rome on March 14th, 1964, where it was commercially unsuccessful. It was also released in West Germany on November the 27th and in France on December the 30th. Contemporary and retrospective reviews primarily praised Bava's direction and the film's visual style, although some found its plot to be weak and lacking in characterization. Now, the film Blood and Black Lace was released in the United States under that title on July the 7th, 1965 by the Woolner Brothers, who had previously distributed Bava's Hercules in the Haunted World as part of a deal with Allied artists. In contrast to the often drastic alterations made to Bava's earlier films by American International Pictures and other distributors, the U.S. version of Blood and Black Lace is largely identical to its Italian counterpart, featuring only two very minor cuts and dialogue exchanges. Now, there is a little interesting side note concerning Mario Bava and the film he directed preceding Blood and Black Lace. Now, Bava directed a film called The Girl Who Knew Too Much, also known as The Evil Eye in America, at the time, and it was produced and released in 1963. And this film is considered to be the first Giallo film. The film genre I'll be discussing a little bit later with a mixture of thriller, sexploitation, and horror conventions. Film critics and historians such as Tim Lucas and Roberto Curti have identified Blood and Black Lace as representing an evolution in both Bava's style and the thriller genre depicted in cinema. Although it did not start a trend in that genre, the film has retrospectively been described as being amongst the first Giallo films, as this exaggerated use of color photography and eschewing a more traditional mystery format in favor of a focus on set pieces of graphic murder would become staples of that form. Now, talking about before I talk about the home media releases, I just want to show a handful of screenshots here concerning the style, the overall style of the film Blood and Black Lace, just to give you a little bit of an idea as to how it was filmed and photographed, and also to give you a little bit of a taste of what you would expect, as well as give you a glimpse of the masked killer, if you will, in the film. The killer appears several times, though, throughout the course of the picture, and but I'll just give you a glimpse of that sinister malefactor, if you will. And you know, it's for the time, that type of mass killer would become over, especially in the 70s and 80s, the archetype, I guess, for the malevolent, psychotic killer that we know in the slasher film genre. Now, as far as the home media releases, Blood and Black Lace was released on VHS in several countries, including Italy, France, Germany, Japan, and Spain. Now, according to film historian Tim Lucas, all known VHS releases of the film were censored to varying degrees. Early American home media releases included a VHS and Betamax releases from Media Home Entertainment and a Laserdisc from the Rowan Group. Ivor Film and Nouveau Pictures released it on VHS in the United Kingdom. Now, in 1997, the film was set to be released by Quentin Tarantino's Rolling Thunder Pictures, a division of Miramax designed to introduce audiences to the works of low-budget filmmakers that he admired. Rolling Thunder was unable to release the film because of an inability to source usable 35mm English language elements. In a 1998 interview, Tarantino said that people over in Italy just don't care. We tried to get the rights to Blood and Black Lace and release it in Italian with English subtitles. We couldn't do that. It's not even about money. They don't care. Now, also, VCI Video released the film twice in the United States on DVD in 2000 and again in 2005 with more bonus features. Both releases feature English and Italian audio tracks with subtitles. Now, Arrow Video released Blood and Black Lace on Blu-ray disc on April the 13th in the United Kingdom and April the 21st, 2015 in the United States. Presented with an aspect ratio of 1:66:1 in Italian and English, this release was extensively restored from the original camera negative in 2K resolution at L'immagine ritrovata and graded at Deluxe Restoration in London under the supervision of Tim Lucas. Now, I do have the, here for example, I do have the let's see here. Pardon me for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the VCI Entertainment release, the Blu-ray and DVD combo of Blood and Black Lace. And, yep. Alright, just want to make sure that it doesn't have any glare there. So there you go, there's that. And I'm going to provide a link as well in the description below so you can get a copy. And of course there's also the Arrow video releases, not only in the United Kingdom but also in America as well. And I'll also provide the links for that too. And yes, I have to say I also have a digital copy of Blood and Black Lace as well, which came from the Arrow release, and that particular Arrow release has an audio commentary by film historian Tim Lucas. I definitely recommend that people get the Arrow video release, but I also recommend as well that you get this too, because it's just for the simple fact though that it has a lot of special features, special bonus features, but also because though you can watch this in great quality. The 2K restoration is fantastic, and especially also for the audio commentaries. But I definitely recommend this, and the Arrow release as well. I also recommend that too. Now, just put my specs back on. There we go. All right, now I just want to provide for you folks out there a little bit of an explanation, if you will, concerning the Giallo film genre itself. Now, Giallo films are generally characterized as gruesome murder mystery thrillers that combine the suspense elements of detective fiction with scenes of shocking horror, featuring excessive bloodletting, stylish camera work, and often jarring musical arrangements. Now, the archetypal Giallo plot involves a mysterious black-gloved psychopathic killer who stalks and butchers a series of beautiful women. While most gialli, that's the plural Italian word for giallo, while most gialli involve a human killer, some also feature supernatural elements. The typical giallo protagonist is an outsider of some type, often a traveler, a tourist, or an outcast, or even an alienated or disgraced private investigator, and frequently a young woman, often a young woman who is lonely or alone in a strange or foreign situation or environment. The protagonists are generally or often unconnected to the murders before they begin, and are drawn to help find the killer through their role as a witness to one of the murders. The mystery is the identity of the killer, who is often revealed in the climax to be another key character in the film, who conceals his or her identity with a disguise, usually some combination of hat, mask, sunglasses, gloves, and trench coat, and other things that will disguise their identity. The genre developed in the mid to late 60s, peaking in popularity during the 70s and subsequently declining in commercial mainstream filmmaking over the next few decades, though examples continued to be produced. It was a predecessor to and has significant influence on the later slasher film genre, as film fans, cinema fans know it. After the successful release of Dario Argento's The Bird with the Crystal Plumage in 1970, a wave of gialli films were made in Italy, with many sharing stylistic traits from Blood and Black Lace. Works by such filmmakers as Martin Scorsese and Pedro, I'm going to probably butcher this, I'm sorry, Pedro Almodovar, sorry about that, have referenced the film and it has appeared on several best-of lists related to thriller, horror, and slasher films. Although it was not the originator of what modern cinema historians and fans would consider to be the slasher film genre itself, Blood and Black Lace most assuredly became the inspiration for the wave of Italian Giallo films later in the 60s and into the 70s and 80s. Such notable directors as Lucio Fulci, Umberto Lenzi, Riccardo Frida, Massimo Dallamano, Antonio Margaretti, and of course also most famously Dario Argento, contributed their own stylistic, directorial, and writing touches to what would become the slasher film genre as we know it. Or certainly gave their influences from the Giallo film genre, and it soon became what we know as the American slasher film genre, with such slasher films villains such as Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, many others, of course. Now, just to say, even though Blood and Black Lace certainly depicts murders in a somewhat graphic fashion, the thing is that it's certainly not like what modern day slasher film murders are like and portrayed as. It's certainly compared to those modern day bloodlettings, Blood and Black Lace is certainly much tamer, although the depiction of the murders is certainly graphic. I don't want you to be dissuaded or even put off by watching this particular film. I would recommend that you do watch it. Certainly, if anything else, for its stylistic approach to the mystery thriller film. Mario Bava does an excellent job, I believe, and I consider it to be a classic. And watching it recently, I certainly was engrossed in the film, the way it was photographed, the way it was directed, and certainly, yes, granted, however, the story does lack in substance. It does have its flaws, but certainly in terms of narration. But it still is a film that is worth watching, and I do recommend it highly. And even if you're put off a little bit by the idea of seeing the murders taking place in the film, there are not very many, and there are scenes though where it is a little bit on the shall we say the harder side of things, but it's definitely not like anything in the horror or slasher film genre today. I mean, what you see in Blood and Black Lace is a Sunday school picnic compared to what you might be exposed to these days, especially with the horror and slasher film genre. I myself am not particularly a big fan of the slasher film genre itself, and I usually shy away from those types of films because I'm not exactly a big fan of gore and ultra violence and whatnot. I think it basically detracts from the enjoyment of films of that nature. But again, I highly recommend watching Blood and Black Lace. It is a worthwhile film to see. So I recommend it for sure. Don't be put off by me mentioning, or other people or film reviews mentioning, the depiction of violence here. It's nothing compared to what we see today, unfortunately. But that doesn't detract from the film I'm mentioning here itself, so please check it out. All right, so that's enough of me rambling. So that's it for now for this video, and until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching, and as well to those who have stuck around so far throughout the course of the month of October. I'm certainly grateful. Thank you very much. And those of you who have subscribed to the channel, I also thank you very much as well. It's most appreciated. It certainly gives me the drive and the impetus to continue producing and developing these videos for you folks out there, so I do appreciate it very much. So until the next time we delve into another classic horror genre of film, or even from television, please take care, everybody, and until the next time, so long for now.